Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. The mother of Daunte Wright's son has filed a lawsuit against multiple individuals over funds from a donation campaign. Chyna Whitaker filed the lawsuit Monday against Wright's parents and family members, Katie Bryant and Aubrey Wright, and prominent attorney Ben Crump and his law firm as well. Now, Wright was killed April 11, 2021 by former Brooklyn Center police officer Kim Potter during a traffic stop. Potter was sentenced to 2 years in prison in February. Now, at the trial, several of Wright's family members testified. Let's take a look back at some of what his mother had to say.
Daunte Wright is my son, my baby boy, and I say is and not was because he will always be my son, and I'm proud to say that. I have had many sleepless nights and days contemplating how and what I was going to say today. I have to be the voice for myself, my family, my community, but most of all, I have to be the voice of my son, Daunte. April 11th was the worst day of my life. A police officer who was supposed to serve and protect took so much away from us. She took our baby boy with a single gunshot through his heart. She shattered mine. My life and my world will never, ever be the same. And I often replay that phone call in my head over and over again. And I blame myself because I should have told him that I shouldn't have told him it was going to be all right. I told him he was going to be okay. And just to find out a few minutes later, he wasn't. A police officer that took an oath to serve and protect for 26 years. But not on this day. On this day, she did not protect. She failed Daunte, our family, and our community. She did not render aid to Daunte, Elena, or the elderly couple that was in the vehicle. His car was held at gunpoint for over 5 minutes while my son bled out in the driver's seat. The last memories of Daunte's life is now watching him being shot over and over again. Seeing his lifeless body pulled and dragged onto a grassy spot where they left him on the ground for hours. Your Honor, I'm asking you to hold the defendant to the highest accountability. She was a person of authority who betrayed her badge. Not only when she shot Daunte, but when she rolled around on the ground crying for herself. I'm going to prison. I shot a boy. Call Chuck, her union rep. When she should have fact said, please go save him. How is he doing? Is he okay? Please help him. She didn't even try, Your Honor. She didn't try to save him. You should have done better.
All right, still with us, criminal defense attorney Matthew for Corey. Matthew, this really boils down to some statements made by Ben Crump and some money. Over $1 million raised in a GoFundMe campaign. Now, she's asking the court to enforce certain promises made by Ben Crump and also claiming fraud, and I'll get to that in a minute. But first and foremost, so there was this GoFundMe campaign. It was actually being run, and on the site it says it's 100%, all the funds donated, 100% belong to the parents of Daunte Wright. So there's that. But she's claiming Ben Crump and his firm was sort of orchestrating and handling and managing the GoFundMe campaign. He said to her, you're gonna get 50% of this. She's saying she relied on that statement and didn't make her own GoFundMe. And now the family doesn't want to give her, hasn't given her a cent. Your thoughts on whether Crump might be in trouble here, or anyone in this family or him might be in trouble?
So to answer your first question, whether or not Ben Crump might be in trouble, it's going to depend on who he was representing. It sounds like he was representing the parents, but making promises.
Wait, let me stop you there quickly. It's funny because at the time he made the statement, Matthew, he was representing Chyna Whitaker, the mom, But he only represented her for 3 days, April 12th to April 15th, and then they got rid of him. But at the time he made the statement, he was in fact representing Chyna. So factor that in.
Well, what I do is I trust my gut, and this sounds like there's a conflict of interest here, right? Whether if he's at first representing other, and now there's statements he's making on behalf of the parents, that sounds like a complete conflict of interest. That could be ethical issues or licensing issues for him. Now, that's that issue. The second issue is whether or not there was a contract here. That's basically what it means. You brought it up. Was there a promise here to share or split the funds? A promise is simply a contract. A contract could be written. A contract could be an oral contract like this. And that's obviously what she's saying, that, hey, there was an agreement, a meeting of the minds through this individual that the proceeds would go to his heir, his son. So that's the second issue. Obviously, to me, naturally, if there's a GoFundMe, to me, I'm thinking that this GoFundMe is going to go to his, his wife if he's married, or here in this situation, go to his children. It doesn't matter to me that they have this thing on the bottom of the screen that says, oh, all proceeds are going to the parents. If they had an agreement that, yeah, the proceeds of this are going to be split, even though on the screen it says this, that to me, that doesn't bar her from a contractual obligation of getting some of these proceeds. I think she might have a good claim. To be very candid, I think a lot of this is going to hinge on what this attorney said. Apparently her attorney for at least 3 days, a little while, said, and any representations he may or may not have made. I think that's what this is going to come down to. And something about that doesn't seem right, to be very candid.
All right, well, now the Ben Crump law firm, they have a response to this lawsuit. And here's what they said. Their statement is, this is strictly a family dispute between the mother of Daunte Wright's child and Daunte's parents, who set up the GoFundMe account in question. Ben Crump Law never handled or controlled the money from this GoFund account, which was under the sole direction of Daunte's parents. Ben Crump Law did not benefit from any of the funds raised, and we did not accept any fee in this case. Our hearts are always with the family, and we pray that they can find a resolution. Now, I get what he's saying, ultimately, because of what I said, that 100% of the proceeds go to them, but you're right. He did make a promise, and included in the lawsuit was an affidavit from other family members who were in the room when he made that promise. And in contract law, we know if you rely on that promise, that's what creates that contract. And she relied, she says, because she did not set up her own GoFundMe campaign. I think that may be where the strength of her case lies, no?
To some degree, yeah, there's something called unjust reliance in contract law, and then, you have to perform or find a way to fulfill the damages or gap that was left as a void there. But again, and you mentioned this, that he was representing her for 3 days. After those 3 days, was he then representing the parents?
Yes,
and if
moved
so,
on over to that.
Oh, yep. All right. So I think that this only strengthens her claim, to be very candid, that something murky was going on. Because if you're suddenly representing the wife, and then a few days later you're representing the parents, and there's competing interests, and there sure appears to be here regarding the money in the GoFundMe campaign, I think he's going to have a problem, and I see why he's being brought into this.
Absolutely, and factor in the fact that she says he consistently told her to show up at press conferences with the son, because again, that would stir up sympathies and make it easier for him to get more money when he was working with the city to get a settlement. So all that, lots of things to factor in to this case. Matthew Fakori, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Truly appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you again soon on the show.